This is Michael Popuk, Legal AF with breaking news. Well, there was another chapter in the Jan 6 report that never made it into the publication, focusing on the role and the responsibility of Twitter and Facebook and social media platforms in failing to have policed extremists who had co-opted and had subverted the platform for their own use, communicating war cries and battle cries in the lead up to Jan 6th, and they're being afraid of and kowtowing to, and even trying to promote the tweets of Donald Trump, especially Twitter, because until they finally banned him 2 days after January 6th, they liked having him on the platform along with his 88 million followers and his 60,000 tweets. They did not, as we all know now historically, Twitter did not ban Donald Trump when during the September 2020 debate, he told the Proud Boys, who he claimed he didn't know who they were, which we know now is a lie, to stand back and stand by. That led to, according to the Purple Team report of the Jan 6 committee, which has now come to light, but didn't make it into the final draft. According to that report, that draft report, most of the major officials at Twitter and staffers were very concerned about Donald Trump and his activating and his radicalizing his base through these extremist and incendiary comments. And the Twitter safety team, whatever that is, no longer exists, by the way, under Elon Musk. But the Twitter safety team wanted to create a coded AI, artificial intelligence program that would go through and methodically search the Twitter platform for any hashtags or other tweets that were violent or extreme or could be interpreted that way. That was rejected by the executives of Twitter, who did not want to alienate and antagonize one Donald Trump. Let's remember, even when he made the call to arms in September, telling people to stand back and stand by, Twitter did not take him off the platform. Even in December of 2020, when Donald Trump tweeted, "Be there," meaning the Capitol on Jan 6th, "will be wild," which has now universally been seen as a call to arms, a clarion call by Donald Trump to bring his MAGA extremists and alt-right extremists to the Capitol, armed and dangerous and ready to attack on his command. Even then, they did not pull down Donald Trump from the platform or his tweets. Let history reflect that the only time that Twitter finally brought him down, Donald Trump, and tried to make any effort whatsoever to attack the extremists and bring them off the platform, was 2 days after Jan 6th, on Jan 8th. And now this Purple Team report by the Jan 6 committee of 120 pages has been leaked to the media, and we've had an opportunity to take a look at it. There, we know there were two main people testifying before the Jan 6 committee on these issues. One of them was reported back in July over the summer. An anonymous Twitter employee, represented by counsel, an anonymous Twitter employee testified about the resistance at the senior executive level of Twitter to do anything at all to take down tweets and hashtags and other messaging being used by right-wing extremists to communicate with each other in and around lead up to Jan 6th. It's not that they forgot. It's as the report draft concluded, social media companies ran tail and basically kowtowed and cratered under the onslaught of MAGA extremist rage, and that they were paralyzed at the decision-making level about what to do. There was really only one thing for them to do, and they needed to do it timely, and this reporting shows that they did not do that. Social media platforms needed to create coded software, coding within their platform, coding through artificial intelligence, to carefully mine their platform and zap and remove and edit anyone that harbored extremist views and was using their platform to communicate. They couldn't do it manually, although apparently, according to the testimony of the anonymous Twitter employee, along with the one person from Twitter who did testify, who was identified, Annika Navaroli, who was a senior Twitter safety team member, they tried to manually take down hashtags and tweets like assassinate Mike Pence or words to that effect. Let's think about this. A very small group of Twitter employees are trying to use a search engine to seek out and delete tweets manually, one by one, on a platform like Twitter, where millions and millions and millions of tweets are processed every day. That was beyond a Sisyphean task. That was beyond a Herculean task. That was impossible. The only way they could have done it, and what they thought about, apparently, according to the Purple Team report, doing after the stand back and stand by tweet by Donald Trump was to create this software program, this artificial intelligence program, to do that job for them. And it never got implemented not because they forgot, but because of senior Twitter leadership at the time did not want to antagonize Donald Trump, liked having him associated with their platform, liked their 88 million followers. So they have blood on their hands, as the Purple Team has identified. The only question is, why didn't the Jan 6 committee put in more of the Purple Team's recommendations? There was 120 pages to choose from, and it turns out there was only about 3 pages at best that ended up within the Jan 6 committee report. They always say, the winners write history, and the Jan 6 committee decided to emphasize other aspects of Donald Trump and right-wing extremism, and in their own way, minimize the role of social media. But I don't think anyone having been around Twitter or social media on the run up to Jan 6 and now reading aspects of the report, the only conclusion you can reach is that Twitter and Facebook have a lot of blood on their hands for what happened, because they allowed their platforms to be used by radical extremists to communicate with each other in a way that, if it was blocked, would have made it much more difficult for 1,000 people or so to descend on the Capitol and try to burn it to the ground. One interesting further conclusion or further observation is that a Senate staffer, just to show you how clueless Twitter and Facebook were about who was even using their platform. Right? You figure they know who's on their platform. And it may be a devil's bargain where they decide, well, we'll keep them on the platform because we, First Amendment, and we sort of like having all these people and their followers on there, even though they're saying some really crazy, murderous, libelous things. But at least I assumed that the organization and their business model knew who was on their platform so they could do appropriate monitoring. How do you do, Twitter safety monitoring if you don't even know which accounts to monitor? That's why the next testimony that I'll talk about is chilling. For the just the obtuse lack of knowledge of Twitter, of its own users. One Senate staffer emailed a senior Twitter executive and asked why Ron Watkins, who was effectively the social media head of the QAnon movement, asking why Ron Watkins' tweets were still being allowed to be on the platform, even on January 6th, while the attack of the Capitol was unfolding in real time. To which the Twitter executive responded, "Who is Ron Watkins?" Okay, so you'd assume at least the number one at the time social media company would know who the social media director effectively for QAnon was and how they were using the platform. But not according to this exchange that was testified by the anonymous Twitter employee who testified before Congress. The reforms, I understand, that are recommended in the Jan 6 report about how Congress should look at how to address social media in time of war or emergency or otherwise, to limit their ability to have or allow their ability to deplatform people who try to use their platform as a communication tool with other radical extremists to attack our country or otherwise. But, it would have been, in my view, more powerful if a large portion of the 120-page draft of the Purple Team report had made it actually into the final report, bound and distributed to history, that the Jan 6 committee finally released. We'll have to await memoirs and interviews of the members of the Jan 6 committee about why they didn't include the Purple Team's 120-page report in their own analysis and in their own conclusions about who is responsible for Jan 6 and what should be done in the future. But it is a public service that Rolling Stone magazine and other media outlets have gotten their hands on the Purple Team report, and have revealed it and given us an opportunity to review it and to, conclude as we have to, that social media companies were to blame in equal parts to the radical extremists that had co-opted them. This is Michael Popak, Legal AF, reporting on the new disclosure of a draft of the Jan 6 report that included a 120-page attack and analysis of Twitter and Facebook and other social media platforms and their role in the Jan 6 insurrection that never made it into the final report, but we've now reported on it now.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.